Good morning, Taiwan, and thank you for starting your week with us. I am Louisa here to keep you informed and entertained. 欢迎收看 Louisa 报报，每天给你最新最有趣的新闻。First to news in New Zealand. Fears and concerns are on the rise with the possibility of a fresh oil spill after a cargo ship which ran aground off the coast of New Zealand last October has broken in two, marking the worst maritime disaster ever. Up to 300 containers have been spilled, while 20,000 seabirds have been killed following the leakage of hundreds of tons of oil into the sea. New Zealand 的漏油事件还没有结束，从去年10月到现在，已经有数百吨的油流入海里，再加上现在的船已经断成两半，情况越来越糟糕。
A striking container ship has split in two in stormy weather off New Zealand. The 47,230-ton Liberian-flagged Rena has been stranded on a reef since running aground on October 5th last year. Maritime authorities said that both parts of the ship were about 100 feet away from each other after being pounded by wild weather overnight. Hundreds of the containers stacked on the ship's deck, dipping into the sea when it broke apart. Response teams have been mobilized, including oil spill and wildlife experts. Thousands of birds were killed by the ship's earlier spill, and it took months to clean up the shore in what was New Zealand's worst environmental disaster in decades. The ship's captain and navigation officer, both Philippine nationals, have been charged with operating the vessel in a dangerous manner and releasing toxic substances.
And churches have opened their doors for people of New Zealand to express their condolences to the families of the hot air balloon crash victims, whose names have been revealed by the authorities. 纽西兰热气球意外之后，现在家属正在处理后续，当地的居民也都不敢相信，居然会发生这样的意外。New Zealand is in mourning a day after a hot air balloon accident killed 11 people near the town of Carterton on the North Island. On Saturday, the balloon hit power lines and burst into flames before crashing to the ground, killing all on board. Police have cordoned off the scene of the crash as they undertake the grim task of removing bodies. Here, cars sit parked where the victims had left them a day earlier as they arrived for the balloon ride. In this small community, the tragedy is just setting in. Mourners braved the rain to attend St. Mary's Church in Carterton. Reverend Jenny Chalmers says everyone knew the balloon's pilot. The area's annual balloon festival was due to start in a few weeks. However, some are concerned that balloonists will pull out of the event in light of the tragedy. And now moving on to other news, double trouble literally. We are seeing more twins in recent years, and now the new digits have proven our observations right. Our Jennifer Zhang explains why the number of twins born in the U.S. has dramatically soared over the past 30 years and how we should be concerned about this new trend. 美国最新的统计指出，过去30年来，美国出生的双胞胎增加了将近76%。为什么呢？我们一起来看看。
According to the figures released by the National Center for Health Statistics in the U.S., the twin birth rate, the number of twins per 1,000 births, has risen by around 76% over the past 3 decades, from one twin being born in every 53 babies in 1980 to 1 in 30 by 2009. Twin birth rates rose by at least 50% in 43 states and the District of Columbia, while the twin birth rate in the 5 states, including Connecticut, Hawaii, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, have risen by more than 100%. Epidemiologists said that a large increase occurred among non-Hispanic white moms, but the overall increase has crossed race and age. So what are the causes of the rise in twin births? Researchers say that around 1/3 of the twin birth rate can be explained by an increase in older women having children, as women in their 30s and 40s naturally have more chances to give birth to twins than younger mothers. The other 2/3 of the increase can be attributed to the rise of infertility treatments. Even though twin births only make up about 3% of all births in the U.S., experts are expressing their concern over the trend. Researchers said that multiple births have greater health risks and higher care costs because they are more likely to be born prematurely, and 10% of the twins born are smaller than single babies. In addition, mothers of twins and the babies are more likely to be hospitalized longer.
And speaking of twins, this next flick we're introducing is directed and written by twin brothers Logan and Noah Miller. The duo risked everything they had to make this film happen, which is based on their own life stories. 本周五有部电影《逐梦奇迹》是一对双胞胎兄弟为了要纪念他们的父亲而拍的电影。这个片的戏里戏外的故事都非常感人，我们一起来看看。
Directed and starred by Logan and Noah Miller, the film Touching Home tells the story of their father, Daniel Miller, played by Ed Harris, and compulsive gambling as he labors to raise two sons and ends up dying in jail at the age of 49. Before his death, the twins promised their father they would make a movie inspired by his difficult life as a tribute to him. As the twin brothers wrote in their memoir, they wanted to prove that their father's life was important, that he was loved, that his final chapter was not the shameful end on a jail cell floor, that his life had been worth living. With no show business experience and money, it took Noah and Logan nearly 10 years and 17 exploded credit cards to realize the promise. The obstacles to making the film were both obvious and profound, as the duo had no experience in screenwriting, let alone directing. They managed to write, produce, and direct through self-learning. After crashing their way up to Ed Harris, the actor they were convinced must play their father, the twins showed him a trailer for Touching Home and handed the Oscar-nominated star their screenplay. With everything that finally came through at the last minute, and with the help of several recognizable actors, including Robert Forster and Brad Dourif, who agreed to act for the untested filmmakers alongside Harris, the film was finally finished at the end of 2008 and is being released in Taiwan this weekend. This is not only a touching story about a father and his two sons, but also an upbeat and inspiring life story of the young men who endure to make their dreams come true.
And also in movie news, and one of the Shakespeare's lesser-known works is finally getting the spotlight. The stars of Ralph Fiennes' directorial debut, Coriolanus, speak out about the modern version and how it was being part of the latest adaptation of the Shakespeare tragedy. 演出的 Reader 的 Ralph Fiennes 最近推出他的自导自演的作品《王者逆袭》，他将传统的 Shakespeare 戏剧搬到了现代，融合古今的 element， 非常的精彩。
Ralph Fiennes was joined by his co-stars Vanessa Redgrave and Gerard Butler for a special screening of the actor's directorial debut Coriolanus on Thursday evening in London. Fiennes, who both acts and directs in the piece, has made a modern version of the famous Shakespearean tragedy based on the life of the legendary Roman leader. Butler, who plays Coriolanus, describes taking on the role as both a challenge and an honour.
It was a big deal to me. I mean, it was an honour that he wanted to do that, and then you have to deal with the fact, okay, really, can I pull this off? Because it's true, I'm not exactly Mr. Shakespeare, but it felt like I have done a few roles that were more classical in their language and in their kind of patterns, and it felt like a nice next step to do it with this movie. And also, it doesn't feel hugely Shakespearean when you watch it. You know, it's very filmic.
At the core of the film is a dynamic mother-son relationship, which, according to Fiennes, made the experience of filming with Redgrave quite an emotional one.
I had to be careful to be not. You know, I need to be in the scene. I also needed to shape it, but it was an extraordinary moment, and to be, as it were, on the receiving end of Vanessa's volumnia was an amazing thing. Not only for me, but I think so many people felt it, and it was an inspiration to the cast to watch it.
For Redgrave, who lost her own daughter, actress Natasha Richardson, to a skiing accident in 2009, the experience felt similarly unravelling.
You know, I kind of sometimes shy away from words like emotion, perhaps because we all feel so much about so much and so many people that we love and don't want to disappear and want to be with and want to work with and want to laugh with.
Coriolanus is playing in theatres in the States and is set for release in the UK on January the 20th.
And that's it for this edition. I am Louisa Lee, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Meanwhile, stay with CTS for the latest weather update and to find out what's going on around the island.